I will, in the next 15 minutes, talk you through and share a little bit not only what we're doing in Switzerland, but essentially why we believe that particularly in this decade where we face a lot of changes and where technology will continue to accelerate, we need something like a hub. And by hub, I mean kind of like, imagine it as a physical space, an engine room where we bring together ideas, talent, and the tools to converge and actually push humanity forward. And why we need this kind of hubs, these physical spaces, to solve for one thing that is important and will allow us to differentiate, and this is legitimacy. And particularly here, this conference, it's about breaking the DePIN. So we're talking about how can we build actionable outcomes, from experiments to prototypes to pilots to actual products that we can touch and feel. But going a step back, let me see, does it work?
I think you can just press the button.
Now it works. So Mark already touched on it. A little bit what we're doing in the hub and what our vision is has been inspired by Zurich. And Zurich in this quote puts it very much there. We need to build, that is evident. We also need to accelerate, which is also true. But the big question is, what are we accelerating for? And where are we accelerating to? So how do we build a foundation that will allow us freedom, agency, but also resilient infrastructure, like the thing what Chris was talking about? And there is one critical thing, and I'm curious to see if we can agree here on it. Allocating capital is how we decide what actually matters. Is that something we can agree on? Okay. So with that, I would say that capital flows to credibility, to proof, and presence. And right now, a lot of capital might go sideways. It might go into speculation, it might go into things that are just there for the next hype, but they're not necessarily going into the things that last. And some of you here might be builders and have participated in hackathons, so you know the problem. You're coming up with an idea during a hackathon, and then it's over, and there is no follow-in funding. So we're not putting capital into the space, the ideation space, the residency space, the space that will actually build on what is lasting. And this is what we're trying to solve in a hub like Switzerland. So we're trying to anchor capital flow to legitimacy through lived and high trust collaboration. And the real challenge, we talked about it and it has come up this morning in Chris's talk before, it is not so much the challenge, how do we build the faster AI, the faster technological solutions, is how do we manage that human legitimacy can keep pace. Because legitimacy can't be scaled only by code. It has to be lived in physical, social, and sovereign context. And that's why we believe, and we iterate a lot on it, that infrastructure for legitimacy is as important as infrastructure that we need for more compute. And overall, there is one challenge, so I'm taking one step back again. Every frontier technology faces the problem that they can only come up and unveil their full potential once they are enabled to build a bridge into the real world. How do we build the bridge into the real world? Through spaces that allow to double down on what works, on coordination and governance, that allow fast experimentation, but also where we can actually have the honest and thoughtful discourse, what we need to do so that we are not just there for the next hype, but we are here to stay. This is what we're trying to do in a hub, in a physical space. We're bringing together tech and society. And a hub for us is a legitimacy concentrator, shortening the path to the right collaborators, giving builders access to test user communities, but also to investors to actually touch what we are building and not only see the slides. A hubs is kind of like gives you as a builder, particularly as a DePIN builder, a distribution and scale. So very briefly, what is Zuitzerland? We're a society sandbox aiming to build a permanent village to accelerate builders in the DePIN space and also in the DIAC space. For those of you who are not familiar with the term DIAC, DIAC is a techno-optimist philosophy proposed by Vitalik Buterin that says, yes, we have to accelerate, but we have to stay true to 4 core values and pillars. Decentralize, democratize, differentiate, and also build for defense. We are a living lab where you as technologists can come together to prototype on governance, on coordination, but also on the public infrastructure itself, because we are a physical place. And it is not just online, but is real. And yeah, as an accelerator with the DIAC pillars, one thing that is true for us, we're accelerating open source, because open source can be profitable. There is a lot of things that have been shown in the space that open source can be profitable, and it's not true that there aren't. But of course, to make a hub happen and actually have it livable, we also need more than just buildings. We need a capital stack for it. So we will need a token, or we are in need of a token that will help us govern both the physical and the social capital of the hubs. And now you might say, all nice, great theory. Maybe there are some smaller, resilient communities, and we're not permanent yet, but it is not just theory. And there is, I can assure you, really a lot what we learned, and it was amazing. And it's particularly for the 190 people that came and joined the experiment that it was so great. But you know, when it comes to it, what I'm here is to tell you is about why we need to believe in legitimacy and what we can do in this infrastructure, in this village to do it. So what we are going to do is that we're not just stay on a permanent space, but we actually are imagining to, and that will be the next iteration, to bring together a more intentional group on specific issues. Like as you see here, this was the whole village where people had the apartments, the conference room, the co-working, the hacker club, food areas. We're now talking about how can we tokenize the buildings? How can we build decentralized grids? How can we make it use, and that for a longer term period than just 3.5 weeks, we're talking months. And this is what is to come in 2026. So LAX, this experiment, made one thing very clear. Every single builder faces this loop. In order to deploy, they need capital. But you have to deploy something to attract capital. Coming together in a hub where you can test and do the infrastructure, you can break this loop. Because inside the hub, we're concentrating for credibility. We're accelerating you as a builder for the deployment, and we're allowing you to send the right funding signals. Because one thing also came clear to us, Switzerland is coming out of the Zuitzerland movement, and Zuitzerland has shown the way to a temporary city. We are here to make it permanent, and we're hoping, together with others, Crecimento in Argentina, Sugrama in India, the guys from Rome at Orbe, to actually build a network of different Zoo villages or resilient communities where we can accelerate together for the technologies and the people who are building that. And so here's my call to, depending who's in the room, so to you builders, come and join hubs, look for spaces where you can build with others and co-create. To investors, not just go around, wait for DAX to be sent, but actually back what you can see and touch, and also go to the hubs, because I assure you it makes a difference.